It was the very first Latino-themed nationally broadcast television series in the history of TV, American Family for PBS. Yeah. And we went on to do it with, thank God for Gregory Nava and Barbara Gittner Martinez, who, boy, they worked their butts off. And Ray Villalobos, who shot the piece. And we all worked very hard. And it was 2 seasons, and that was a very difficult piece of work because at the end of the second season, actually before the second season came out, we were pulled off the air after being, going up and winning the Emmy nomination for Best Series of the Year. They pulled us off the air because we wouldn't take out the Iraq War. And they had come to us, and the Bush administration had asked us to please, if you could take out the inference to the Iraq War, but the whole movie was about the Iraq War. My son goes off to fight in Iraq, not to fight, but he was a doctor. He was going out there to help the wounded, and he was like the essence of our family. All of us had sacrificed so he could go to medical school, and it's the story about those 13 episodes were about him and his going through school and how we had sacrificed, and he goes off there, and I was like an Archie Bunker. My character is a very right-wing conservative, very conservative person who at the end of the series, because of the death of his son, completely loses his sense of balance and his ability to understand who he is. When the Bush administration asked us to take that out, both Greg and Barbara both said, excuse me, no. There had never been a program or a movie that had ever been made that coincided with the actual usage of a real war that was happening, that we were in part of, ever. And matter of fact, we opened the series with me asleep and the bombing of Kuwait and Iraq, okay? And the explosions are on the television. I'm asleep, and my daughter comes in, and that's how the movie starts. And it's amazing how difficult it got. And the New York Times and the LA Times both did articles on it, saying that it was freedom of the press, freedom of speech. They were stopping us, and they pulled our funding. So we left it on the way it was. We put it out there, but the show was canceled. Yeah. And since it was, Corporation for Public Broadcasting, they held up to the fact that we had the right to do that. But we got shut down, and it was a very strong show, and it was the first broadcast television program in the history of TV to deal with Latino themes ever in the history of television. Yeah. After that, there was some more that came out, but not.
So talk about how it reflected the Latino family differently than anything else had before.
Well, nothing had ever been done, so it didn't matter what we did. It was just so freshly original because you just had no television programming that dealt with Latino themes in that manner, ever in the history of television. And this wasn't that long ago, And it hurts to be the first. It doesn't feel great. When you start to realize what you're going through, it's not really, it's not a good feeling. I mean, when I was first on Broadway, I wept on that time too, and I'm not it was very emotional. I remember standing on the stage at the theater and with the light bulb, that's all that was in there. I went there early, and the Winter Garden, and it's huge theater of over 1,500 seats and 3 levels, and I stood there and realized that we were about to perform a piece of work that had never been performed, culturally ever in the history of the country, and in the theater. So it was really a very, very momentous occasion. Same thing with American Family. This is broadcast television, free. Just turn on your TV and you can watch it. And they had never had anything like this in the history of television. It was our first one. And, we had been around forever. We're an integral part of this planet and especially of this country. okay, Asian, indigenous, Latino contributions to this part of the world were first. Okay, in that order. Asian, indigenous, Latino. And so American Family, my character, was very, very important, as well as the whole program was just extremely important to us to be inclusive, just to tell a story that isn't about the European understanding or outlook or, emotional attitude of living. It came from another perspective. That's why the African American, I'm very grateful that they've been able to push through. There's 12% of the population of the United States of America at the present time is African American. They right now hold 17% of the images that we see on television and motion pictures, where the Latino is 16, they say 17, 16, 17%, even though we're much more, over 50 million people. And we hold 16% of the population, but we only hold less than 2% of the images that you see on television and motion picture. It's not balanced. And the indigenous and the Asianness are less than 0.5% seen on television and motion pictures. And it's as if they don't even, like they're like foreigners that don't belong. The foreigner is the European. That's the true foreign culture on this hemisphere. And for it to represent itself as the ones who really established the United States and this hemisphere is an insult to the sacrifice of millions and millions of people, cultures that have been here long before they got here. And that's the whole issue in itself. And we won't come to terms with it until we start to really balance out the usage of the art form. There's nothing stronger than the audiovisual event. There's no art form that even begins to understand itself as well as the audiovisual event does, because it attacks the subconscious mind of the individual watching it. And if it's going on the big screen, then watch out, because on the big screen you have nothing but issues going to be coming at you. When I saw Psycho for the first time, that was it. I couldn't go into a hotel room without checking the bathroom, and when I take showers to this day, and it's been, I saw it in the 50s, and here we are in 21st century, and I'm still got that image that pops into my brain whenever I go into a hotel room and I use the bathroom. I remember, that bathroom scene in Psycho, and it's very effective. So the audiovisual event is very powerful. When American Family became a reality in this country, things were really moving forward. For them to have stopped it was almost like it really showed their inability to really take criticism, to take truth, to take the understanding of what Gregory Nava and Barbara Jettner Martinez were trying to do.